Oh, we are out here, but we are not messing around today. We are pressing lower ball joints. I've gone with the Moog option, and we have the press, and apparently this is going to allow us to press it out. These particular adapters and extensions are unique to Honda OTC on Amazon. So this is where we are, and thankfully 3 days after summer, the first day of summer, I am in the shade. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Whoops, wrong side. Well, we got safety first. We got 2 jack stands, an assisted jack that I can pull whenever necessary, and your tire. Let's dive in. So you know where the lower ball joint is, through here at the bottom. We're getting your rotor off, central nut, moving the caliper, taking off these brake lines, make sure it's back here, taking off the tie rod, all this stuff. All right, so we can have that, take the steering knuckle off. Oh yeah, don't forget the upper control castle nuts and etc. All right, we got cotter pins and castle nuts removed from the upper and lower ball joints. All right, you got your you got your 2 17mm bolts that's holding on your brake caliper. Make sure you rig something so they can stay out of the way. Yeah, let's see if we can get this tie rod castle nut out. Oh yeah, and the rotor comes off. If you have the impact screw that's keeping it on, this is where you would take that impact and jostle those loose. I do not have that, so it comes right off. And then we got the tie rod out. This was a little stubborn, but it's a good time to check your boots and the overall well-being of it. This is OEM and it looks fine. In addition to that, we loosened or got the upper control off from the steering knuckle, and ultimately we're going after the steering knuckle. Don't forget any sensors that are hooked to it. Make sure these are out of the way. The last piece is here, and when you look, when you're trying to get these seized boots and such off of these holes, when they say hit it, you're hitting the metal here. All right, so same thing up here on the upper control arm. You're not actually hitting anything associated with the upper ball joint. You're hitting this massive piece of metal. Metal on metal contact gives it that impact and vibration needed to loosen itself out of here and out of here, and most importantly down here on the lower ball joint, if you didn't know. And I tell you, taking that center nut off with this bad boy will never get old. It's literally you're pressing this for a good 7-second count and it's off. And in extreme case scenarios, I'm sure a breaker bar would do the same thing, but I've never tried. I went straight to the higher echelon of tool. And you just poke this out, your axle through the hole, push it back and pull your knuckle out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items you need to remove in total. But as expected, I shouldn't be able to, you shouldn't be able to do this on a lower ball joint. And you see I guess the boot was stuck up, which put all the grease out of it. But that's why we're here. See, this one is super stiff. I can't push that with a thumb. Versus this one, I can just flick and it moves. And then I'm just going to remove this ring with a flathead. Let me get a flathead. And this ring prevents you from getting the ball joint completely out when you press it. And just remember that it's going back in this way, so you have an opening for that speed sensor. It should be obvious. I don't know what type of sensor that is, but it needs to be accessible. All right, let's see if we can use this tool to push this bad boy out, but not before a water break. Now look at this. Upon removing the boot from the lower ball joint, it was, I don't know if that's all that was lodged in there. That is straight ground, fine ground dirt. Yowza. So, after way too much time spent on trying to assemble the catch piece, the extension, the adapter, and C-clamp, turns out my C-clamp is too small. So, for the next 40 minutes, I'll be mashing this with a hammer. And it's going to take all of your might. This is what I wanted to try to prevent, but I will relive this trauma again. It is out. It's a 7/8 socket. And you are smacking that socket. Alright. You know you're moving it when it feels like you're catching the soft part of a baseball bat, if you've ever been at the plate, or you've caught a good golf swing for a long drive. It'll absorb all of it. Put some gloves on just to make sure you don't get too much shock as a result of the metal on metal impact. But that took 20 maybe, no, not 20, maybe 8, 9, 10 minutes. And I'm doing a bots up curl on this hammer. Like, there's no soft taps at all. Like, they are a good 50 strong soft spot smacks. So know what you're getting into. All right, but this is rock bottom. All right, so at this point we're now taking the Moog, where's that thing, ice cream man, but we're putting this. Now I have the tools to press it in. I just didn't have the tools. I thought I bought everything. I'll come back, I'll shave something off of the, it's like, it's maybe a centimeter for that to be big enough, but I don't have the time today. But we're pushing this in and pressing it through. We might need to remove the boot. We shall see. Nope, we do not need to remove the boot. We're fine. But as it pertains to the 2004 to 2008 TSX, these are the parts that you need for the bottom. And this is supposed to go just like this over top. So when you're pressing that bottom part, everything goes up and catches it with this cup. The OMC part is spot on. It's just, my C-clamp was just a little too big, a little too small. I take that back. And this is what you're rigging when you're pressing it. The pressing piece is easy. This was 30, maybe 15 seconds. You rig this up, the force of this impact driver is ridiculous. And it just presses right on through. This is what I wanted to achieve with pressing it out, but this is your setup. All right, you have the bottom, you have the torque bolt on the outside here going into your impact. You have the bottom piece that's flush on this adapter. It's a big old cup, so the entire lower ball joint should fit in here. Like, you're pressing on this lower control, this lower ball joint ring, and the lower ball joint is completely free. This top piece is pressing it in, so it's coming out here. Like, this is the lip right here. This top piece, once you set it in, making sure everything is straight, once you press the power here, this just presses it right on there. And there you go. Completely flush lower ball joint. This is at a mom and pop shop, maybe $400 for one. At the dealer, They probably charge you $1,000. Put your ring back on, tap it in. And when you're down here, man, you can expect all your other grommets. That's fine. That's the other side of your lower control arm. You're not gonna be able to see that, but when you go for inspection, this is your critiqued bushing. I might get away. Like this is gone. But there is nothing else, any other wear on any of these other sides. So when they inspect your vehicle, that's exactly what they're looking at, number one, pertaining to the overall care of your suspension. And then in addition to that, when you're doing all your stuff down here and you're coming back down to put your steering knuckle in, don't forget to make sure you keep this thing off the rotor, because you'll do all this work and drive off just to hear just this nasty grinding sound that is not a good confidence booster, but it's a piece of tin. You can price it in any position you need to. But you put your axle in first, you put your lower ball joint in, and start putting all these castle nuts and cotter pins back into place. And this is the part where, you know, it's a point for having this here and have your main support on these jack stands, because I need to now take this, put it on my lower control arm, so I can press this up and get that bolt, that castle nut secured in some capacity. Alright, everything's finger tight. 1, 2, and then the lower ball joint. Let's move to the rotor and brake caliper. Alright, my rotor's on. At this point, this is where you want to insert your screws. And again, pay attention to your splash shield. Make sure that's pushed all the way around the bottom, that direction. And it might be even torqued to that extent, to the point where it's leaning back. You definitely don't want that rubbing sound. Put your center nut back on. I think I don't know what the torque is, but we're getting to it after I secure everything to some extent. I think it's 90 foot. No, it might be 200 plus. I'm not sure. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we've got past the hardest part, is putting the brake caliper back on. These bolts, they seem easy. Just make sure you go in there with some light. Otherwise, you're just feeling around, and that took way too much time. It's like a good 15-20 minutes just to get those bolts in, holding this at the same time. Yeah, we got some rain rolling up on us. Let's move. All right, so everything's tight to an extent. It's in place where it needs to be. Now we're going to torque and look for those specifications. But what I want to do is I want to do it while the car is on the ground. So I'm going to use this and jack up the car, get 90 per Eric the car guy, per roughly 90% of the car weight on that jack while I come through and torque these bolts. These are preventative measure. That is, and the other one there, in the event, extreme case scenario, if it falls, it lands on those and not me. You got your spindle nut, 181 foot-pounds. That's a lot of pressure for obvious reasons. That's where your axle is transitioning that horsepower to your wheel. Alright, then we're doing the tie rod to knuckle, 40 foot-pounds. Tie rod to knuckle, 40 foot-pounds. Yep. And alright, the car is up on the jack, supporting the weight of the car, and this is a screen capture moment in the event that you need to come back and reference to the torque specifications of all things suspension for the 2004 2008 Acura TSX. I'm gonna do that now. Alright, we got everything torqued to specifications. Everything is in order. Let's look at our work. That looks pretty, doesn't it? Okay. Let's throw the tire back on. And that's it, y'all. Alright, I gotta jack up the front to pull it off. 85, 90 foot-pounds for your lug nut. Maybe even 80. But good God Almighty. That was a 4-hour job. Until next time. Whew.